You're just too big for the bridesmaid dresses." That's the first thing Savannah said when I asked why I wasn't in the wedding party. Not hi, not thanks for the RSVP, just that. No hesitation, no shame. And just like that, my twin sister shattered 30 years of sisterhood with one sentence. "I'm Bianca Tran. I'm 29. I design interiors for small cafes and cozy homes, places people want to feel safe in." I guess it's ironic, because I've never truly felt safe in my own family. Not in this body. Not when Savannah's always been the one who fit the picture, literally and figuratively. We're identical twins by birth, but life painted us very differently. Savannah is a size 2, a lifestyle influencer with 200,000 followers who posts about clean living and curated joy. I'm a size 16, curvy with thick thighs, soft arms, and a full face I used to contour the hell out of. She calls it branding. I call it erasing. We were inseparable growing up. We shared everything: clothes, secrets, even birthday cakes split down the middle. But somewhere around high school, the world started treating us differently. Savannah got compliments. I got advice. She was stunning. I was brave. And I took it, smiled through it, shrunk myself when necessary. Until the day her wedding invitation arrived. It was beautiful. Thick ivory cardstock, gold calligraphy, the whole Pinterest dream. I opened it slowly, half expecting a special note, something sweet like, "Can't wait to have you by my side." Instead, my name was printed at the bottom of the guest list. Just a guest. No role, no title, no mention. I called her immediately. "Savannah, I got the invite, but I thought I was your maid of honor." There was a pause. I could practically hear her carefully choosing her words. "We're keeping the wedding aesthetic really light and clean. Neutral tones, soft fabrics, nothing distracting." "Distracting," I repeated, heart thudding. "You mean me?" "It's not personal, B. It's just, these dresses don't flatter everyone, and the photographer said certain angles might not be ideal. Plus, Dylan's mom is super into, elegance. It's a lot of pressure." I couldn't breathe. "You don't think I'm elegant?" I asked. "You know that's not what I meant," she said, voice tight. "But it's my wedding. It has to look a certain way." And there it was. Look a certain way. That meant thin, symmetrical, Instagram ready, not me. I hung up without another word. My hands were shaking. I stared at my reflection in the hallway mirror, the one I used to check for acceptable angles. And all I saw was the sister who had stood in front of bullies for Savannah in middle school, who drove her to college when she got her heart broken, who once said, "Even if we don't fit the world's mold, we'll always fit each other's." Now, I didn't even fit in her wedding photos. When I told my parents, they acted like I was being dramatic. "Don't ruin her special day," Mom said. "Just wear something nice and smile. You'll be in the crowd photos. Maybe lose a few pounds by then," Dad added, between sips of coffee. "That might help." I stared at them, stunned. "So you agree with her?" "She's under a lot of stress," Mom replied. "Weddings are about vision. Not everyone has to be front and center." Not everyone. That phrase echoed in my mind all night. I didn't sleep. I just kept thinking about how many times I'd stepped aside to keep the peace. How many photos I'd been pushed to the edge of. How many times I'd cropped myself in real life to fit someone else's expectations. By morning, something in me snapped. I opened my laptop and started writing. Not a rant. A truth. I didn't name names. I didn't mention Savannah. I just said this. I was told I didn't fit the look for a family wedding. I've spent my life adjusting my body, my voice, my presence to fit other people's comfort zones. Not anymore. I attached a photo of myself, full body, no filters, no Spanx, just me in a sundress, smiling. I hit post. Then I got dressed, walked to the mailbox, and dropped the RSVP envelope in. Declined. But that wasn't the end of it, because less than 24 hours later, my post had gone viral. And Savannah, she called me sobbing. When I saw Savannah's name flash across my phone screen, my stomach twisted. I almost didn't answer, I shouldn't have answered. But curiosity, guilt, maybe some leftover loyalty. I don't know what it was. I swiped to pick up. Bianca! She choked, voice trembling. How could you do this to me? Not how are you, not I'm sorry, not even what happened. Just that. I didn't do anything to you, Savannah, I said, trying to stay calm. I shared my experience, my truth. You humiliated me, she snapped. Dylan's mom saw it. She called my wedding aesthetic a red flag. My planner said 3 of the vendors pulled out today. Do you realize what you've done? I closed my eyes, jaw clenched. What I've done? I declined your invitation to shrink myself for your perfect photos. That's it. She didn't respond, just soft breathing on the line. Then a whisper. You blindsided me. That word. Blindsided. Like I hadn't spent decades swallowing every snide remark, every, maybe a darker dress for Bianca, or, let's just do the tight shots. Like she hadn't blindsided me by turning the wedding into a curated campaign for her image, without her own twin in the frame. I told the truth, I said, my voice sharper now, and apparently I'm not the only one who needed to hear it. Because the comments hadn't stopped. Strangers, hundreds of them, had messaged me. Women, men, even teenagers. One girl wrote, I'm 15 and my cousin made me crop myself out of her birthday photos. Thank you for standing up. Another woman said, I was photoshopped thinner in my own sister's wedding album. I cried when I saw it. Savannah hung up without another word. I sat on the couch, phone still in hand, shaking. That night, my post hit 2 million views. By morning, I had emails from 2 news outlets. Buzz Now, Femme Voices Weekly. They wanted interviews, statements, a feature. But what really broke me was Mom's voicemail. Her voice sounded tight, controlled, like it always did before a lecture. Bianca, this has gone far enough. Your sister is devastated. The neighbors are asking questions. We told them you were going through something personal. We can't have this public mess reflecting on the family. Take it down. No, how are you? No apology. No acknowledgement. Just clean it up. Bury it again. Like I had my whole life. By the end of the day, I got a formal email from Savannah's wedding PR firm. We request that you remove your post due to the reputational impact on the Jenkins-Dawson union. Your statements may constitute defamation. I laughed. Actually laughed out loud. Because I hadn't even named her. Hadn't posted screenshots. Hadn't exposed the text. But now I was being threatened for telling the world I had been excluded for my size. So I did the one thing I knew they didn't want. I said yes to the interview. I sat down with Femme Voices Weekly on Zoom the next morning. Makeup light, no filters, just me. They asked, why speak out now? And I told them, I've spent my entire life trying to disappear just enough to be tolerated, not anymore. They published it that afternoon, titled the piece, Too Big for Her Sister's Wedding. Now she's redefining what belongs in the frame. The story exploded. By day 3, the hashtag I am in the picture was trending. People were posting unfiltered selfies, stories of rejection, family shame, school photos edited. It became a movement I never expected. Then came the message that changed everything. A direct message from Eleanor Monroe, the creative director of Vivel, one of the biggest inclusive fashion brands in the country. Bianca, I saw your story. We're launching a new global campaign. This is me. No retouching, no filtering, just truth. Would you be our face? I stared at the screen, frozen. The same brand Savannah once begged to collaborate with. The one she'd posted about every other week in hopes of getting noticed. And now, they wanted me. The Vivel campaign went live on a Thursday morning. It was a slow-motion explosion. There I was, front and center, on their homepage. No filters, no contour. Just me, arms outstretched, birthmark visible, in a dress Savannah once called, too clingy for your shape. The caption beneath it read, This is me. No edits, no apologies. By noon, my inbox was flooded with interview requests. Vogue, Elle. A segment offer from Morning Conversations with America. I should have felt elated, and I did. But there was one reaction I hadn't prepared for. Savannah's. She texted me first. Savannah. Are you serious? You stole my dream. Do you know how long I tried to get Vivel's attention? You've never even been in fashion. You're not even on brand. I stared at the screen. Not even on brand. God, she still didn't get it. This wasn't about brands. This was about truth. This was about finally being seen after a lifetime of being cropped out. But the worst was yet to come. Because Savannah didn't just send angry texts. She took it public. That night, she posted a long, pastel-filtered Instagram story. Teary eyes, quivering voice, a whole lot of betrayal and hurt. I've always supported body positivity, she said, dabbing at a fake tear. But it really hurts when someone you love uses your private wedding choices to destroy your career. I wish her healing. But this is not how family treats each other. By morning, her story was reposted over 300 times. And suddenly, I was the villain. I got messages calling me attention-seeking, bitter, cruel. A few said I was just jealous of the pretty sister. The same accounts that had praised me days earlier were now questioning my motives. But something was different this time. I didn't shrink, because for every insult, there were 5 more voices backing me up. Other women started sharing their stories of family rejection, of being shamed for their bodies, their scars, their skin color. The hashtag number IAM in the picture only grew stronger. Savannah, however, wasn't done. The next bomb dropped when I received an email from a journalist at Page Mode. She said she'd been contacted by an anonymous source offering screenshots that prove I'd fabricated the entire exclusion story for attention. My stomach dropped. I knew exactly who the source was. Savannah had edited our text exchange, made it look like I'd refused to be a bridesmaid because I was too busy with my own projects and didn't want to share the spotlight. She removed the parts where she said I didn't fit the aesthetic. She twisted the story. The journalist sent me the screenshots. My hands shook as I read them. But then, I noticed something. A detail Savannah had overlooked. One of the fake texts used a date format, mm/dd/yy. But Savannah always texted using dd/mm/yy because she studied abroad in London and never changed it back. It was subtle, but it was there. I sent the unedited screenshots, along with the originals backed up to my iCloud, and the date discrepancy to the journalist. Within hours, Page Mode ran both stories. The headline? Twin tries to frame sister after excluding her from wedding over body image. The backlash was swift and brutal. Vivel issued a statement reaffirming their support for me. 2 major brands cut ties with Savannah. Her manager dropped her, and her account, once full of sponsored deals and glowing comments, was flooded with furious replies. But nothing, and I mean nothing, could have prepared me for what came next. Because that night, I got a call from Dylan, Savannah's husband. I hesitated before answering, but something in me said to pick up. His voice was flat, quiet. Bianca, I had no idea she did that. She told me you backed out of the wedding, that you were jealous. I only just saw the real screenshots. I said nothing. Just let him talk. I need to ask you something, he continued, voice cracking. There was a pause. Then he said, Did Savannah really tell the photographer to edit you out of the family photos after the ceremony? I froze. She what? I didn't sleep after Dylan's call. His voice kept replaying in my head. Did Savannah really tell the photographer to edit you out of the family photos? It sounded impossible, vindictive. But then again, I'd once thought being excluded from her wedding party was impossible too. By morning, I had a plan. I messaged Emma, my best friend since college, the kind who shows up with wine and war plans when you're heartbroken. I need you, I wrote. It's time. She was at my door 20 minutes later, already scrolling Savannah's social feed. She posted her wedding album last night, Emma said, captioned it, "The most perfect day with my most perfect people." I took a deep breath and opened the post. There were 20 images. The venue, the flowers, Savannah beaming in her custom silk gown, our parents posing proudly, no sign of me, not even in the background. I recognized the shots. Some were from moments I'd been present for, family groupings I was originally supposed to be part of, but I was gone, cropped out, reframed. It wasn't just erasure, it was intentional invisibility. I felt sick. That's not just cruel, Emma said. That's manipulation. She's trying to rewrite reality. I clicked the photographer's watermark. He was a well-known high-end wedding shooter, someone Savannah had bragged about booking a year in advance. I emailed him, politely requesting access to the raw proofs from the day. To my surprise, he replied within an hour. "Hi, Bianca. I was under the impression you had opted out of the photos. Savannah requested I remove any shots where you were present. I still have the originals, of course. Would you like to see them?" I couldn't type yes fast enough. The folder he sent was like opening a vault. There I was, smiling in group photos, laughing with Noah by the punch bowl, hugging my aunt. Every image erased from the final album. She didn't just crop me, she wiped me out. From the narrative, from the memory. And now, I had the proof. I didn't post them right away. I needed it to be deliberate. Instead, I called Vivelle's PR team. "This might sound petty," I told them, "but I want to use these photos for the final phase of the This Is Me campaign, a statement about erasure and who controls the narrative." They were stunned and thrilled. A week later, we dropped the final installment. Title: Unedited, The Faces They Tried to Crop. The first image was of me in Savannah's wedding dress code, surrounded by family, smiling. The second, the edited version, me, erased. Caption: This is what it looks like when they say you don't fit the aesthetic. It was bold, it was public, and it was the truth. The reaction was immediate. Support flooded in. Thousands of people shared their own before and after stories. Photos they'd been removed from, moments they were told they didn't belong in. But then came the twist I never saw coming. 2 days later, my email pinged with a message from a wedding coordinator named Janelle. Subject line: Confidential inquiry. About Savannah Dawson. She wrote, "Hi Bianca, I worked with Savannah briefly 2 years ago when she was a junior coordinator for another wedding. I recognized her in the campaign you posted. I thought you should know. Savannah used to coach brides on how to minimize awkward family members in their photos. She even had a checklist. One of her tips was, if they're not symmetrical, don't make them sentimental. We let her go after multiple complaints." I read the email 3 times. This wasn't just about me. Savannah had built her entire aesthetic, her career, by teaching others how to erase people who didn't fit her version of perfect. The moment I read that email from Janelle, I knew exactly what I had to do. Savannah's cruelty wasn't just personal, it was professional. She'd built an entire career helping other brides erase the people who didn't fit their vision. This wasn't one mistake. This was a pattern, a brand built on shame. So I made one final call. I reached out to TruthFrame, a major digital publication known for investigative pieces on social media figures and influencers. I sent them everything: Janelle's email, the raw and edited wedding photos, and Savannah's old Pinterest boards I'd saved years ago. Boards filled with phrases like, streamline the bridal party, avoid visual clutter, and even worse, don't let your guests ruin your grid. The journalist, Ava, didn't hesitate. "This is bigger than a family feud," she said. "This is about aesthetic discrimination, and it's happening everywhere." 2 weeks later, TruthFrame dropped the article. The Symmetry Scam: How One Influencer Quietly Encouraged Erasing Imperfect Family Members from Weddings. Savannah's face was the thumbnail. The article blew up. Influencer expose channels picked it up. Industry experts weighed in. Former brides came forward, anonymously at first, then openly. 3 of them provided contracts and email receipts, proof Savannah had offered discreet image consultation services, which included strategies for sensitive guest management. One bride admitted she was encouraged to reconsider including her autistic brother in the ceremony. That's when things exploded. Vivelle issued a public statement cutting all ties with Savannah and denouncing her actions. Instagram removed her verified badge. 2 major wedding vendors blacklisted her. And in the most poetic twist, the Bridal Guild of California revoked her membership, citing ethical violations and harm to marginalized communities. But the final blow didn't come from the public. It came from within our family. At a small family dinner, yes, I went, my younger cousin stood up, holding a photo. It was from her sweet 16, 4 years ago. "I was cropped out of this," she said, voice shaking. "Savannah told the photographer I wasn't photogenic enough. I never told anyone. But seeing Bianca speak up made me realize I wasn't the problem." The room fell silent. My aunt started crying. My mom put her face in her hands. Even my dad, usually stoic, looked away. "Savannah?" She just stared. No tears, no apologies, just silence. For weeks after, she went completely dark on social media. Eventually, I heard she'd moved back in with our parents. Her manager dropped her. Brand deals dried up. The wedding photos she once paid thousands to perfect, used in articles now as cautionary examples of toxic beauty culture. Meanwhile, my life had never been fuller. The This Is Me campaign won 2 digital advocacy awards. I gave a TED Talk about being cropped from the frame. The blog I started turned into a community hub for people who had been excluded, edited, or made to feel invisible. We called it Uncropped. Emma and I hosted the first Uncropped gathering last month. Over 300 people came. All of us different. All of us visible. And when I looked out at that sea of real, raw, radiant faces, I felt something settle deep inside me. Peace. Not because I got revenge, but because I reclaimed the story. Because I was no longer asking to be included. I had built something of my own. Savannah once said, "There's no room for flaws in the perfect picture." She was right. So I tore the picture down and made space for something real. Comment the number 1 if you believe no one should ever be edited out of their own family story. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you want more true stories that fight back with truth.